Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is SpaceTiiger, and in today's episode of Pokemon Sword and Shield, we will be discussing how to breed OP Pokemon. Have you ever wanted to make a super strong Pokemon? Well, this is the video for you. I'm going to teach you how to make a competitive ready Pokemon, but we're going to jump into this and we're going to go first things first. How do you breed Pokemon? Well, basically you need to leave two Pokemon in a Pokemon nursery center. And there are two nursery centers. There's one by Route 5, and then there's another one in the wild that's in between the what's it called, in between Motostoke and Hammerlock. So in the wild, in that area, you should be able to see one. Is in the Bridgefield area. Those are the two nurseries in the game. Okay, now when you get to the nursery, there's one thing you have to do. You have to leave two Pokemon, and the only way you can leave two Pokemon is they have to be compatible with each other. They can't just be like any random two Pokemon. But there is an exception to this rule. The exception is if you are breeding with a Ditto. A Ditto, you can use any gender Pokemon and a Ditto, and you will always get the other Pokemon. You will always breed the other Pokemon. You will always get that Pokemon. That is the awesome thing about breeding with Dittos. You can just always keep getting the Pokemon you need as long as you have a Ditto. Now, that's the simple part. Now, let's talk about breeding without a Ditto. Breeding without a Ditto, so this is how it works. You're gonna need two Pokemon. If you have them of the same type of Pokemon, you're fine. You don't have to worry about that. That's one way to breed. If you don't have two of the same exact Pokemon, then it gets a little more complicated, because now you kind of need a few things to fall in your favor so you can actually breed the Pokemon. The first thing you need to know, whatever the female Pokemon is, you're always gonna get that Pokemon. So if you're trying to breed let's say a Growlithe, you have a female Growlithe, and you breed it with let's say a Ninetales, or let's say a Ninetales, you're going to get a female Growlithe. You're not going to get a Ninetales or a Vulpix, because they always go in their first form. So you're not going to get a Vulpix. So you're always going to get the female type. So now let's take this up another notch. Now, how do you know which Pokemons you can breed? Well, that is something you have to research online. You have to go to different sites that you can research on. You just Google it. You Google egg group, whatever the name of the Pokemon is. So let's say Growlithe egg group, and they'll show you different egg groups. So I'm pretty sure Growlithe is part of the field group. So you can breed any type of Pokemon that's in the field group. It doesn't matter if they're not the same Pokemon. So let's say a Growlithe, you can do it with a Scorbunny. A Growlithe, you can also breed it with a Vulpix. Pikachu, I believe, is also field group. Eevee's field group. There's a lot of different in the field groups. Pokemon also have several different field groups. Some of them have two field groups, so you can also like jump in between field groups. Now that's just the basics. This is just the starting part of the whole breeding. Now let's get into the complicated part, into the how to actually make them OP. So now, how to make these Pokemon OP? You want to get good stats on your Pokemon to make them OP. Stats matter a lot. So when you look at a Pokemon, like let's say you're in the party window and you're looking at the Pokemon, and you see when you press the plus button above the X and Y, you can see it says HP, attack, defense, special attack, defense, speed. Those are all different categories, and next to it says, it could say anything from best to decent. So you can have pretty good, no good, fantastic, very good. So there's different things. The goal is to have as many best as you can. So now sometimes you don't even want the best on a certain category, because it all depends on how you're building that Pokemon, because sometimes you just want a super strong Pokemon in special attack, but you don't really care about normal attack. So you can have everything best except normal attack. So this is where you have to kind of like do more research and see what type of Pokemon you're breeding. What type of skill sets do you want in your Pokemon? And let's say you want a fast Pokemon, you kind of want it to be have at least speed best, and the goal is always to have as many best as possible. If you can have 5 best, that's a close, I guess that's what they call perfect breeding. Yeah, you can call it a close to perfect breeding, because it's 5 out of 6, and that's kind of perfect. If you have 6 out of 6, that's awesome. It's hard to get 6 out of 6, but you can do it. But how do you get these stats to show that? This is where the breeding gets even more. You got to go either a step further into the breeding. Now, you can transfer stats from your Pokemon that you are breeding into the next Pokemon, but you have to do this with certain items. Let's say you want to pass stats from another Score Bunny to one Score Bunny. You want like all these stats on it. What you do is, there's an item called Destiny Knot. Once you use that item, you have to put it on whichever Pokemon you are trying to transfer the stats to. So let's say you want to transfer all of Score Bunny stats over to Growlithe. You put the Destiny Knot on Score Bunny, and then you just leave Growlithe how he is, and you put them both in the nursery, and then you start picking up eggs. How do you hatch these eggs, or how do you get these eggs? Basically, you have to walk around for a little bit. So basically what people do is they tend to go around in their bike in circles and circles and circles and circles and circles until the lady puts her arms up. Once she puts her arms up, that means the egg is ready for you, and you can pick it up from her. Then after you pick it up, you have to keep the Pokemon in your party until it hatches. And how does it hatch? Basically, you have to keep on going around in circles and circles and circles. That's literally all you do. You just keep doing the thing over and over again. So that's one part of the whole breeding thing. Now, the other part of the breeding thing is you need natures. You need good natures on your Pokemon. What are natures? Basically, it's... You see okay, let's make it as simple as possible. When you look at a Pokemon, sometimes you see next to attack or special attack, you see a red and a blue coloring, and you're kind of wondering, what does that mean? Basically, if you have that red or pink coloring, that means you have a 10% bonus. So you get 10% more stats on that, whatever particular stat it is. If it's blue, that means you get 10% less stats, so your total numbers will be lower. And so let's say you get 10% bonus on 100 attack, you would get 110 attack instead of just 100 attack if you had it red. If you got 10% less on 100 attack, you would have 90 attack instead of 100. So that's where natures come into play. These natures, they're called they have all different names. You can see it in the description. It says like you can have an adamant nature, jolly nature, timid nature, neutral nature. There's a whole bunch of different natures. I haven't memorized all of them. Honestly, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and be like, oh, I know every single one by like the back of my hand. I do not. I honestly don't. I don't know every single nature. I just know I want red color on attack and blue color on special attack. So, so it's like, it depends on which Pokemon you're working on. You always have to look at which Pokemon you're working on so you can know what stat you want on it. Like, let's say you're going to breed a Butterfree different from a Score Bunny. You're going to breed a Togekiss different from a Corviknight. So it's like, you have to see what your Pokemon specializes in. And whatever they specialize in, that's the nature you want to kind of go for. That's basically breeding in a nutshell, without going dragging it on too much and making you guys confuse you guys out of your minds. One thing I did forget to mention is that you can pass on natures from whichever Pokemon you want. You just need an item called what is it called? It's called the Everstone, I believe. I think that's, hold on, let me double check. I don't want to give you guys the wrong name. Yeah, it's called the Everstone. You put that on whichever Pokemon you want to pass on the nature to. whichever nature you want to pass on to them. So like I said, let's say you're passing on a nature from a Growlithe to a Scorbunny. You put the Everstone on the Growlithe or whatever, and then you just take them into the nursery. You breed the Pokemon with that nature, and then you pull it out once you get the Pokemon you want, or a female version of the Pokemon. You put it right back in, and then you start breeding for stats. That's my way of doing it. That's how I do it. That's how I feel is best, getting the nature first and then going for the stats. Because if you go for the stats and then the nature, it gets a little complicated. You can change the natures with mints, but that's not part of breeding. Mints is not part of breeding, so I didn't want to like mention that. But yeah, that's the basics on how to breed OP Pokemon. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section. I got you guys. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. Shout out to all of you guys for showing me so much support in that last video. You guys were extremely awesome. I greatly appreciate that. There will be a lot more videos coming up. There's more to these like breeding discussions and making these Pokemon super strong, and all these videos and competitive guides will be coming eventually. That's coming soon. I just need to get my feet like a little more wet in the whole competitive scene, because I am new to the game. I don't want to lie like I'm a veteran. I am still new. I'm still learning. I'm learning from you guys. I'm learning from other people. I'm learning from my friends. So it's like everything I learn, I'm trying to give back to you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys are brand new, feel free to subscribe, drop a like, and drop a comment. I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Stay awesome, everyone. Peace.